Hello everyone, my name is Zenitsu, and I'm back with another Digimon spoilers video. So this morning we got the rest of the cards in the set, and there's quite a lot of cards, so let's just get right into it. So first up we have Agumon, so this is just another value vanilla card. We've seen these stats before, except this time it's on Agumon. So yeah. Next up, we have Armadillomon. So Armadillomon is just another value vanilla rookie. Next up, we have Auroramon. So Auroramon is another value vanilla rookie, except this time the stat line is a little bit different, and we haven't necessarily seen this kind of Digimon before. So the stats are very, very comparable to the ones that are cost 2 with high DP, except this time it has a higher evolution cost for even higher DP. So we haven't really seen this stat line for vanillas before, but it is definitely looking like one of the more powerful ones, especially ones that could complement the Rookie Rush deck, because they don't really digivolve a whole lot, and they just play their Digimon more often than not. So this is just a really interesting and really decent stat line. Next, we have Blossomon. So Blossomon is a pretty interesting Digimon because it has this download ability, or if this translation is to be trusted, it is going to be Digisorption. This is basically if you rest one of your Digimon down, this is a free Digimon to Digivolve into, which is pretty powerful and pretty good, especially in combination with Ceresmon. Next, we have Boltmon. So Boltmon is your stereotypical value vanilla mega card, so nothing really too special to talk about here. Next up, we have Candlemon, which is just another value vanilla card. Next up, we have Clockmon. So Clockmon has the inheritable ability of during your opponent's turn, this Digimon gets plus 1000 DP. So we already have a couple of different instances of this effect, so just having it in another slot isn't necessarily a bad thing. Next up, we have Devidramon. So Devidramon is a pretty interesting Digimon because he gives the inheritable ability on deletion, you gain 1 memory. So that's not necessarily a bad thing. He's very, very comparable to what Leomon was doing. So it's not necessarily like this is a bad ability. It's just a very interesting one. Next, we have Dokugumon. So Dokugumon is a pretty interesting Digimon because it has a when played or on play ability. You get to reveal the top 3 cards of your deck, add 1 level 5 or level 6 among them into your hand, and then trash the rest. So the interesting part is the fact that this card trashes the rest and doesn't put them back to the bottom of the deck. So that means this kind of synergizes with like starting to think about green-purple builds or splashing this into purple just because you get to trash the rest and you're looking for your higher levels. So this is a pretty decent Digimon all around. Next up, we have Gatomon. So this is just a new Gatomon, and it has the inheritable ability of when attacking, one of your opponent's Digimon gets minus 1000 DP for the turn. So minus 1000 DP on attack is definitely not a bad ability to have, because you could use it in combination with a couple of other cards to try to reduce the opponent's DP down to 0 on one of their Digimon, and then it'll be destroyed. So having a couple of these abilities stacking definitely is going to be a very powerful thing. The main synergy that this is supposed to go with is Sylphimon. So Sylphimon will just turn it to 1000 DP, then attack with Gatomon in the source, then it basically just destroys the Digimon. So that's kind of like the baked-in synergy there, so this isn't a bad card at all. Next, we have Gazimon. So Gazimon is just another Terriermon clone for purple. So during both players' turns, your opponent can't gain memory except by tamer effects. So just more memory locking on another Digimon. So that's just a pretty powerful ability to have overall, because it shuts off a lot of what the opponent could possibly do. So I'm definitely liking that there's multiple instances of this type of card. Next, we have Jewel Beamon. So Jewel Beamon is just another vanilla. So this is what I would probably refer to as not necessarily a value vanilla, but a power vanilla, where its DP is higher than a lot of its contemporaries in the same level. And we've seen these stat lines before, so it's not like it's anything too special, but it's just good that green is getting one because this is kind of like core to green strategy where it wants to have higher DP than the average, so that way it could attack into the opponent's Digimon. Next up, we have Kunemon. So Kunemon is just another value vanilla card. Next up, we have Lady Devimon. So this card's doing quite a lot. So first, it has a when Digivolved ability. So you get to draw 2, and then you get to discard 2. The on Digivolve draw 2, discard 2 is already pretty good. And then it has a inheritable ability. During your turn, once per turn, when you use an option card, you get to delete one of the opponent's level 3 Digimon. So if this is just chilling in the Digivolution source of one of your Mega Digimon or higher, then you just passively can start removing the opponent's level 3 Digimon just for playing an option card. So this definitely really supports the Lilithmon line, where they want to play lots of different option cards, reduce the cost, and now, since you're reducing the cost, you get an added benefit of being able to delete one of the opponent's level 3 Digimon. So this is just a pretty solid Digimon all around, and I'm a pretty big fan of just the sheer amount of utility this kind of card has. Next up, we have Lopmon. So Lopmon is actually a pretty interesting Digimon herself because she has an on play. You get to look at the top card of your security stack, and then you get to add it to your hand, and then draw one card. So Lopmon is actually pretty powerful because it's essentially drawing you 2 cards, one from your security stack and one from your actual deck. So this is pretty powerful because it's also removing a card from your security stack. So that way you could reduce your own security to trigger certain abilities of some of your Digimon where you need to be at a specific security. So this is a pretty good card to help pseudo self-damage yourself while gaining a lot of cards in the process. So I think Lopmon is definitely a fantastic Digimon for setting up your security thresholds. Next up, we have Meramon. So Meramon is just another value vanilla. So this time he has the low Digivolution cost of 1, which we don't generally see a whole lot in the champion slot. So this just allows purple to kind of turbo into their megas a little bit more efficiently. Next up, we have Rapidmon. So Rapidmon has the inheritable ability of during your turn, this card gains plus 1000 DP for each of your opponent's rested Digimon. So it's just helping what Mega Gargamon is doing and is a pretty decent Digimon overall. Next up, we have Raremon. So Raremon has an on-play ability. You reveal the top 3 cards of your deck, add one option among them to your hand, and then trash the rest. So this is doing something similar to what Dokugumon was doing, except it's an option card instead of a level 5 or level 6. So I definitely like a type of card like this in purple. Yeah, it's a little bit costly to play, but the benefits could sometimes outweigh the cost. Next up, we have Salmon. So Salmon gives the inheritable ability when attacking one of your opponent's Digimon gets minus 1000 DP for the turn. So this is just doing exactly what Gatomon was doing. So it's just multiple instances of this ability on different levels, and they do stack. So with this and Gatomon, you could potentially minus 2000 DP off of one of your opponent's Digimon just for attacking. And because these are separate instances, you could also decide to split up the abilities and go 1 and 1, or just start machine gunning the opponent's Digimon down. So I'm definitely thinking that this is a pretty decent ability to have. Next up, we have Shamanmon. So Shamanmon is just another value vanilla card. Next up, we have Skull Meramon. So Skull Meramon is just another value vanilla card. Next up, we have Teruimon. So Teruimon is just another value vanilla card. Next up, we have Hidden Potential. So Hidden Potential is a pretty interesting option card considering it costs 0 and its main effect is really, really good. So its main effect is if one of your green Digimon were to Digivolve this turn, you basically get to rest one of your Digimon to reduce the memory cost of that Digivolution by 5. So essentially this is giving Digisorption or Download 5 to whatever you're Digivolving into next, which is really, really powerful because a lot of the megas cost like 3, 4, or sometimes even 5, and this could just make that mega almost free to Digivolve into just for resting one of your Digimon down. The important thing to note is because it isn't exactly giving download or Digisorption, then you can't combo this with Sarismon, but regardless, this is just a very, very powerful card. And then its security effect is adding this card to your hand. So I'm definitely really liking this card and think it's going to see a whole bunch of use in green. And then the last card that we got is Positron Laser. So Positron Laser is a 6-cost green option card, and then its main effect is up to 2 of your opponent's Digimon can't attack or block until the end of the opponent's next turn. So it's a full turn cycle stun. And then on top of that, if you have a blue Digimon in play, you get to return one of your opponent's rested Digimon back to their hand, and then remove all of those Digivolution sources and send them to the trash. This is a pretty powerful card because not only is it stunning 2 of the opponent's Digimon to basically not be able to do anything for 2 whole turns, because they can't do anything during your turn, and then they won't be able to do anything during the opponent's turn. That's just a really powerful ability in itself, and then on top of which, if you have a blue Digimon in play, bouncing one of your opponent's Digimon is already very, very powerful because this is also acting as a form of removal on top of locking up 2 of the opponent's Digimon. So this is just a very, very powerful card, and then it does have a security effect, where if it's revealed from the security effect, basically it's the same thing as the main effect, except instead of a full turn cycle between you and your opponent, it's just till the end of the turn. So if you want, the full spoiler list is already up on the Digimon website. If you go to en.digimoncard.com, you could look at the full spoiler list for all of the cards, but this is looking to be a very powerful and very exciting set. So thank you all for watching my spoiler series. As always, feel free to tell me your thoughts on any of the cards down in the comments below. And as always, don't forget to share, like, and subscribe this video for more content. And I will see you in the next video.